Boo-doop boop ba-doop doop doop. Boo-doop doop ba-doop doop. I am live. It is it's almost 3:30 on a Sunday afternoon. What a great time to be in the business of making cartoons. I love it. I love it. I love it. I see Darren T, my good friend, had a live stream earlier today, and I unfortunately was not able to participate and join in, but I saw that he was working on the Nixon character from the fan Futurama. I don't want to say necessarily the episode, but the content that he and I have conferred on. So, uh, well done, my friend. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. I keep saying I'm going to kind of bounce back to fan Futurama at some point here, but not today. I will say, for those who are interested, before we dive into animation, um, that I did indeed sell off my Bitcoin holdings yesterday. I did. I did. And I tell you, there's times when I think that it would be a lot of fun to do a YouTube channel about some of the real world up and downs of trading. This is not a standard candlestick chart. It's called a Heiken Ashi or Heiken Atsi candlestick chart, which makes it easier to spot trends in a market. And if you look at Bitcoin over the long term, if we look at it over a year, we can see these trends where we go from higher highs and higher lows, where it's a clear uptrend. Now these lines underneath here are a 10 exponential moving average and a 30 exponential moving average. So with Heiken Atsi candles, the basic formula is kind of this. Is the idea that when you're in an uptrend and these candles that are a little different averaged way of looking at price movement in the market. They're not accurate to real-time price movement. That's what we actually see over here. But what we get with this averaging that occurs in Heiken Atsi candles is that trends are easier to spot. And when you see an uptrend like that, that's kind of a good sign that you might want to be in that market. The signal you're looking for, generally speaking, would be when these two moving averages cross and there's a downtrend that bumps into those moving averages. So the sort of qualifying indicator would be to go to the next wider time frame, and you don't really see it here on a weekly chart. So maybe let's go to something higher, like let's go to an hour. Okay, so what we see here is we say, well, we're seeing all this price movement here. And if you're operating in really lower time frames, it becomes very, very risky. And the reason it becomes risky is that the total price spread within one time frame is sufficiently wide enough that you could say, well, hey, I'm going to get in here, but you actually wind up paying the highest possible price. And so that's okay, except that if you come over here and you get a buy signal and you wind up selling at the lowest possible price, which is very possible, then you wind up actually losing in your attempt to try to capitalize on that particular trend. The thing that is not going well for Bitcoin at the moment, I should qualify this with one other qualification. If you're wanting to trade in this type of time range, then there's some rules you need to follow, which is to go to a next wider time range, and identify the fact that you are in fact in a clear trend, up or down, whatever you're looking for. In my case, it would generally be up because I don't do shorting and whatnot in the market. But if you're in that trend and you're above that moving average, then you're fairly safe within the lower time frame to experiment with buying and selling. The problem with Bitcoin right now is that in every available time frame, if we look at it on the year, at every scale we look at, we're seeing something that is a little different. These ups and downs, we're seeing a change to a downtrend in every conceivable time frame. So what we actually did was made the decision to sell right about here, which turned out to be exactly the right decision. Now, I wouldn't have known this literally just a week ago. because of the research I've been doing on technical trading, and it has been so fascinating to learn about it. I'm balanced out in my efforts by my lovely wife Valerie, who really made it her business back around October to really learn about the fundamentals of trading. So she's a fundamental trader, and I'm a technical trader, you could say. And by putting our heads together, we have tended to make good decisions over the last few months. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And you know, especially in regard to Bitcoin, the market's treated us well. But I'll tell you a little secret. Back in 2015, I had Bitcoin, and it was around $200. And if at this point in time, I had said, you know what, I'm just going to throw $2,000 at Bitcoin and forget about it. If I would have done that in 2015, that $2,000 would have turned into about $200,000 today. Ouch! It happens. You cannot catch all the ups and downs, and you cannot know what the market's going to do. So you got to be careful. So anyway, we've got 5 concurrent viewers. Hey, Inio-san, welcome to the party. Calvin Pewitt, good to see you again. Darren T, and a couple others. So now what are we going to do today? I actually don't have Vegas open, so I need to open it up so I can look at my show. But I think this is going to be an interesting video where what I'm going to do essentially is look at how do we deal with animation from the vantage point of we're going to build out. What do I mean by that? Well, give me a second to load the edit of the show, and I'll show you what I mean by that. What I mean is that the next shot we're going to work on, I'll put it here on the other screen, and we'll put it at full resolution so you can see it clearly. Okay, so what's going to happen on the next scene is actually fairly complicated. Vespar, the prince, is having a reaction to this prior line of dialogue that Tianara spoke, and he's got a real attitude, and then he stomps out of the room. Okay, so that's basically these 3 storyboard shots. Yep, these 3 storyboard shots pretty much encompass what I would like to cover in this current shot. I do not feel that this close-up is actually necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with this particular vantage point, and in fact right now I'm going to cut it to the clipboard so that I can paste it into Tahoma and use it as a guide. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So now if we go over here to Tahoma, for those of you who are into OpenTunes, let it be said that as far as I'm concerned, OpenTunes and Tahoma are the same program. There's very minor differences, but one is what we call in software parlance a fork of the other, and they're basically the same program, with very few exceptions. One of the exceptions that's meaningful to me is I can cut and paste from the Windows clipboard into Tahoma. So I don't have to like save things to a file and then load them and you know this sort of thing. So for me, that's a bit of a win. It's pretty much the main reason why I use Tahoma. So let's go ahead and immediately save this as 537. I'm not going to worry about repurposing old backgrounds or anything like that. I don't really care at this moment, and I can always drag and drop them from other scenes more or less. So with that said, I'm also going to change my output settings to the following: plus scenes /537 /render. That's just my methodology for how I save stuff so that the output from this scene winds up following the same format that all the other scenes in the show have followed. And it's important to follow a protocol for the simple reason that when you're dealing with 800 different shots, things can get messy. So let's keep things as unmessy as possible. So we save all, and now we're ready to get to work. Step 1 is going to be to turn the opacity of this level down so that I can just barely see it and it's just a guide. Okay? So now back to this topic of building out. When I say building out, what I mean is this is one of those relatively rare scenes actually where there's kind of a lot of action. The character is going to be moving around a lot. He's going to he's actually going to start, hey Tom Doing Art, welcome. He's actually going to first be in a deadpan, not deadpan, but a surprise state of reaction to her last line of dialogue. So what we see here, very faintly, in the sketch is really the second major pose. So he's going to be like, like this. So he's going to kind of stiffen, and then he's going to bend in, and then he's going to like, okay, so that's going to be interesting to animate. So it's up, and then he's going to probably throw his chin up, spin around, and walk out of the tent. Well, there's quite a lot there. How do we build out? Well, the first thing that I would like to do in this particular scene, and by the way, it looks like I've got an OBS. Okay, so OBS just reconnected. So I have the same problem probably that Darren had. We just had a break in the stream. So sorry about that. There's basically nothing I can do about it. Occasionally it freezes up. It almost always reconnects within 5 or 10 seconds. And kind of the jury is out. Darren, you might comment on this. Just now there was a brief break. It looks like it was maybe 2 seconds. Did it look to you like it picked up where it left off, or was there actually a gap in the stream? I'm very curious to know that. So anyway, so in this case, I'm actually thinking that I'm going to expand on this drawing in order to go ahead and block in the most broad aspects of the scene that I know are going to have to be drawn separately. And then the idea would be to work out the timing of that. Now, there's a caveat about that. The caveat is that we bumped into this last week. The problem is that I am not actually on drawing number 1. And what I saw last week was that if you create a duplicate of this drawing and then change it a little bit, but your basic ordering of your drawings is out of order, it is a bit of a clunk factor, I found. So for my purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say he's got his head straight up, he's got his head down, and he's got the body process of turning around. Okay? So we're going to need maybe 5 drawings, so I'm just going to hit D, 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 D. Actually, let's not do it that way. Let's do it with insert. I think that works. Okay, so that lets me put a drawing ahead of it. That's great. This is the first drawing. This would be the second. And then for our purposes, we'll probably leave it at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the S key, the selection tool, select this drawing, Control C, jump back to this drawing, Control V, so I can now just draw over it and change his pose. And I'm keeping the broad actions that are going to be in this shot in the same order. So my basic, okay, good. Thank you, Darren. So my basic procedure is going to be to get the drawings in, the key poses first. Then we'll figure out what the broad timing of those needs to be and make them so they actually, like an animatic, actually are pretty much at the pacing that we want in the final scene. Then from there, we're going to do what I'm calling building out, or you could say building up, whatever. But the idea is that you're drilling down into the character to say, within this pose, are there some other things within it that move? An example would be if I'm going to go ahead and I'm just thinking, do I want to erase or just draw? The problem we have right here, by the way, is that the background on this drawing is white. So if I erase, we're going to get this big blank space. So it's a little distracting. Let's just live with that for the moment. Okay, so I'm going to say I've got my pencil set at -1. That seems to be good for pencil tests. If you put it at 0, I need to go in and edit the pencil, actually. The My Paint brush that's built into Tahoma, I really need to edit it so it's a little bit finer, but we'll not worry about that now. So what I'm going to do is take this drawing and go ahead and put it in the timeline. And okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's try that again. All right, let's do it this way. We'll put this one in the timeline, move this one down, and move this one over. So the only reason I did that is so that I can hit my greater than and minus than sign and actually toggle between them and compare the shot so I get the spacing and the time and the size of things correctly. We don't want our characters changing volume in mid-shot. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to my red brush so I can put a couple guides here. All right, so he's essentially got this big distended egg shape that kind of represents his head. So, and I'll go ahead and do an onion skin, which I don't usually do, so that I can see that. And then I'm going to say this is going to go from basically here to here. This tip is going to go basically from here to here. So we're just straightening his head up. And we want that kind of raised chin kind of look. So now when I talked about building up or drilling down, whatever you want to call it, what I meant was this is the general pose, but within this pose, his eyes are going to kind of pop open. And maybe his mouth. He might go like, you know, he might do one of those. And so, but that comes later. We're just going to get the broad poses first, and then work out or drill down, however you want to say it, from there. Okay, so here we've got, this is actually the curvature of the bottom of his helmet, which I'm going to say it's actually going to change from a convex to a concave shape here. He's got a little bit of a squared off chin, and so let's get that in there. And that pretty much gets us to the general pose. And I'm going to just put in like a guideline here, you know, so I just kind of get, because we've got this midline that we can see, so let's just kind of get his eyes in the right general position. Okay, and his mouth too. Okay, so there's that. And I'll go ahead and put in a couple of these just to see, because that's the general pose that he's going to be on throughout this, through this broader pose. The main point of this pose is going to be the kind of wide-eyed look. So we'll just go ahead and put that in there, even though it's going to be sort of animated around it. Okay, so I'm going to look at the messages for half a second here. Reslad, hey, welcome. Inyo-san says, I tend not to update Windows in most of my... Oh, boy, am I with you on that one. I don't either. That's why I'm using Windows 8.1. Darren's using Windows Home, so I don't get much choice. Oh, because they probably do upgrades for you, and maybe there's nothing you... And then I may go ahead and turn Windows Defender back on. Windows Defender, as far as antivirus goes, is really pretty good, I think, compared to your Nortons and your McAfee's or whatever, which I find that the cure tends to be worse than the disease in terms of how intrusive they are in your system. That's just my opinion. Other people may disagree. Okay, so that's pose number one. While we're here, I would like to, I'll just use the selection tool to maybe make a couple little changes here, because I think I didn't necessarily draw this quite as well as I should have, or get the spacing right. Also, it might be good to go ahead and make note of these, the extents of his helmet. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's these sort of flaps that hang down from his helmet. He's kind of got this purple area on his garment, and then there's kind of a leather piece, and there's like a jewel. So now we can use that. We don't need to redraw that here. In fact, there's a case to be made for erasing it so I don't forget and make a mistake. But basically, that gets us through the first two poses. So he's going to kind of pop open, and then he's going to go like this, and then we're going to want to put in like a kind of thing, like he's going to shake. Now, that that shake may suggest that this is one of the few cases where it may be important to jump to 12 frames a second instead of 8. Razlad says you guys should keep the OS up to date. It's really important against hacks and other security stuff. Okay, well, I'm gonna dispute you on that, Razlad. I have this conviction. Okay, in 30 years, 30 years of all versions of Windows, going back to DOS before there was a Windows. In 30 years, how many virus issues have I had that I had to recover from in some way? One virus in 30 years. Well, why is that? You could argue about why it is. But it is my contention that when people get viruses, it's almost always their own fault. Now, they may not have known that they did what they did to get the virus. You know, they downloaded something, they opened something that was actually an executable when that was kind of a really stupid thing to do. Maybe they didn't realize it. That's understandable. For those who don't kind of understand how that stuff works, it's probably better to have a strong antivirus situation. But as far as system updates and everything that goes with it, I, my dirty little secret is that, in point of fact, I do have Windows Defender running on the machine, and I do update the virus definitions every once in a while, just as a, you know, an abundance of caution, which I have accepted because when I've looked at it closely, the CPU footprint of the Windows Defender is always less than 1%. It's real low. It's not intrusive. So for me, I'm like, okay, fine, you know, we'll kind of protect against that sort of thing. But every mistake I've ever made on a computer, I can say over all the years has manifestly proven to be 100% my own fault. So therefore, it's not a protection problem, it's a behavior problem. If the behavior's right, the protection actually becomes largely unnecessary. That's my contention, and my history would support that view, by and large. So, yeah, you know, you guys, everybody, you know, the problem is that Windows 10, which is on that machine over there, tends to make it harder to assert stronger control of your own system. So, now the third pose in this particular situation is actually going to be going back to this one. However, I'm going to hit the D key and move this down. So all we're getting again is the keyframes, the key poses, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this one in there because we are going to be coming back to it. So it's like, what? Shake, 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 shake. And so his facial expression is going to have to change here. So this is informative. This tells us, okay, we're probably going to want to put his face on a different level so that we can change the expression as needed. Against hacks and other security stuff, because Windows XP is still used. I actually, yeah, I do have Windows XP on an old laptop, and my business is actually running Windows XP in a virtual box running on top of Windows 8, and has for several years, and that's because some of the software I use on the business side of things has not been updated in almost 30 years. I actually use a contact manager from Windows 3.1. There's never been a reason to update it. Now, if you wanted to think kind of programmatically about how you could do a better job of being connected to go straight from, say, one of your database contacts to an email or those sorts of things, then yeah, there's some advantages to a more modern contact management system. For me, it's literally never been enough of an issue to be concerned with. So that puts me in the minority. I get that. All right, so now the question is, what the heck is this guy going to do? And we're in a position where we're going to have to do some drawing. So let's go ahead and just erase this. We don't, hello? We don't need it in there. You know, and it's like being a doctor giving advice. I mean, or giving medical advice when you're not a doctor. You know, I have to be careful what I what I recommend, because I'm telling people to do something that maybe they're not necessarily equipped to do. You know, most people can't get away with running things as loosely as I can. If you really want to be safe, the best option is actually to run Linux. And I would argue that if you could look at what I have on my one laptop is Linux Mint. For most people, most of the time, who are just like on the cloud or whatever, and plus if you're using like animation software that happens to be cross-platform, there's really not much of a penalty to running Linux anymore. So, again, that's my contention. Other people may disagree. So what we got to do here is going to be, I'm going to make this really broad. So I'm going to say, let's draw the egg right here, but let's just say this is going to be a little bit of a tween. So we'll just put the center point on his face there. And I'm going to quit using the onion skins and just bounce back and forth so I can kind of do things the way I prefer. All right, so we'll say his garment's going to be stretched a bit that way, and let's just say his shoulder's getting from here to here. And the way I'm going to play this, So yeah, I definitely do not adhere to this idea that you need to be doing updates all the time. In fact, let me say this. On the Windows 10 machine over there, I think I mentioned this. Go look for it, right? So that's an option. So I select that option. And then literally every day, once again, the software says, oh, and by the way, I see that you want no updates. How often do you want to get those updates that you don't get? So I have to click it away every day, even though I tell it every day that I never want updates. This is my philosophical interpretation of the state of affairs vis-a-vis my relationship with Windows. My assessment would be, if the software is so stunningly stupid that it's going to do that, then why am I going to have confidence that my security is safe in that company's hands? If they're actually that dumb, why are they smart? They're like brilliantly smart over here, way smarter than me, but yet they're stupider than a doorknob over here. That's my question. Now, again, you can argue it, and it's a fair argument to be had. I mean that very seriously. But when I look at things like that and I see patterns and relationships like that, it makes me go, maybe the conventional wisdom's wrong. Maybe the conventional wisdom that we all need to update and upgrade is actually, I don't want to say it's conspiratorial, right? Like it's a big conspiracy. It's a lie so they can have our fingers in our system 24/7. That may in fact be true. I don't know. Don't know, and for the most part don't care. So I'm not making a conspiratorial argument. But it's pretty dumb. And so anyway, I don't know. I probably had a point to be made from that. But okay, so by the way, you can use onion skins and flipping between drawings to get your spacing right. But if you don't want to have to, especially if you were going to have some animation within the context of this major pose, just draw an arc. Put a dot in the middle of the joint and say, okay, let's just draw an arc. Basically a big circle around this, a big wheel. And that tells me how his arm is going to swing. Assuming it doesn't bend at the elbow, right? I mean, we're making a couple assumptions there. But, okay, so now actually, speaking of that, here's basically where the base of his weight is, the base of his balance. What's happening with that over here, I wonder? Well, I'm thinking it's not going to move as far either. So basically that means that his back is going to have a little bit of an arc this way. So he's swinging. There's body weight. This is all going to happen pretty quickly. It's probably only going to be on the screen for 1, maybe 2 seconds, depending on whether I want to go ahead and put some little expression or flashing of the eyes or something here that is going to give this pose a little more life that extends it more than a frame. Because obviously the next objective, and let me check one thing. Okay, yeah, so this is a duplicate. I'm not going to do a duplicate on this one. I'm just going to hit the B key and make a new drawing. Okay, so here what we're going to do is we're going to flip the guy around. We're going to actually have him having turned around. Okay, so the shoulder's going to go whoop over there, and I want to move quickly so that I see it in my mind's eye. So this is his spine. There's his spine. Right? Where's his weight that I talked about? Okay, there's his tailbone. Boom. Right? We can feel that. We don't have to see it super clearly, but we can feel it. Okay, there we go. And in his case, he is wearing kind of a gaudy robe that TNR was making fun of just a moment ago. Well, if he does this, this arm's going to actually be swinging forward. So it's going to come around to something like this, and the likelihood is this one's going to come back. Now again, this is all going by very slowly, and all we want to do is get the broad motion. Okay? I'm going to keep going because this is kind of... Okay, so if his body weight swung around like that, then he probably would turn at the elbow. Like this arm would probably do something like this. Okay? We don't have to draw all the other stuff in the scene because basically nothing else in the scene changes. Okay, so he's going, what? Why you... boom, boom, boom. Okay, he grabs this, and then, so... Working from the known to the unknown here, people. What is going to actually happen from here to here? What's going to happen is this hand is going to swing out like this. That's all we care about right now. Okay? If his hand swung out like that, would his head necessarily change position much? No. It actually could stay the same. All right? So the idea is that we've got this motion, and now we see a little problem. What's the problem? Well, if his hand moved out like this, arguably his shoulder, we're not getting enough extension on the arm. So if we're going to really exaggerate it, let's change this and make this up here like that. So what he's doing is he's grabbing the edge of the tent and flinging it open. Okay? Make sense? Joy PKC plays. Hey Joy, welcome to lots of kinds of animation fun. Okay? So I'm going to actually zoom out just a little tiny bit on this thing because we're trying to keep this real broad. Grabs it, swings it up like this. If his arm's kind of straight, that's okay. Okay, and actually you wouldn't really see his hand because what would happen is the tent that they're inside of is getting swung open. So now this says to me, let me zoom out even more. Does that work? That works. Okay, so what that means is the light, the crack of light that's coming through the entrance of the tent that's been behind him in all the other previous scenes we've done. And Joy, if you don't know what we're talking about, basically this is what we're talking about. So we've got this sequence that we've been doing recently where Vespar does in fact have, he comes in the tent. So this actually shows it pretty well. He comes in the tent, and when it closes behind him, there's still sort of a crack in it. So we see that. So that's what I'm referring to here. So then we've got this entire dialogue situation that we've got going through here that we've been working on. Okay? Hopefully that made all kinds of sense. And thank you for loving it. All right, so file, let's save all. Okay, we're trying to move fast here. We want to feel the movement, feel the emotion, feel the energy of what's going on. So just like Glenn Keane would do. Okay, so let's see this. Boom, boom, right here. Boom, boom, boom. What's going to happen with this shoulder here? I'm thinking it's going to fling out, and it's not going to come down too much. So I'm going to do it this way. There's no right answer here, folks. It's going to, the body weight's probably going to force his hand out. So again, we're kind of back to this arc we looked at a little bit ago. I'm going to just leave my stylus there. So that says, okay, there's his sleeve, there's his cuff, right? There's his cuff. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to kill myself drawing the stuff that I know I'm going to be able to draw easily, either because it doesn't change and it's pretty much the same as a prior drawing, or it's just going to be easy to draw, and so why am I going to worry about it here at the rough cut stage? Okay, so we got this crack that I drew. If you want to, in OpenToonz or Tahoma, you can actually just put a guide in here. Just click in this little area that looks like a ruler and just put a guide so that now we know where that was. And indeed, just by pure luck, by the way, I'm not that good. I happened to put his hand in the right place. Okay, so now I'm not going to animate this. You could, if you were really wanting to be a purist and you're into the Disney thing, you'd say, well, we're going to actually animate this other curtain reacting. When he flings it open, the other one's going to kind of react. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, look, the cloth is going to kind of fold over his hand. And now what's going to happen? Geez, I'm doing way more animation than I intended to. I'm going to say, let's put in one drawing, two. Okay, so we're going to get this in here as a guide. So let's just do that twice just so it's there. And then what's going to happen? Let's forget about the prints for a moment and ask ourselves what's going to happen with the dynamics of this curtain. It's not really a curtain, it's an entrance. It's basically canvas, the entrance to a tent. Okay, and what I'm going to say is it's going to kind of go like this, and then it's going to fall into place. So that means that here he's gone, and here we're going to see him exit. So let's let him get a little smaller in the frame, and we'll pretend that the camera is actually at about this level. And so he's actually going to descend a little bit, not much at all, but he's going to descend out of this situation. And his hand's going to come down this way, probably hanging out here. There's his thumb, there's his fingers, okay. And through he goes. Okay, so now if we play this back, it's all going to happen too fast. But it looks pretty good. I mean, if you want to check your work at this stage of the game and you have a real ballpark idea on what your timing is going to be, just slow down your frame rate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down to 3. And it's actually a little slow, so I think 4 is better. So, what? Okay, and it's not a bad idea. What you could do is you could start at this low frame rate, and here's what's going to happen: is you're going to see that some of these keyframes last about the right length of time, and some of them don't. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and amend based on that, and then I'll up my frame rate, and then think about what's going to actually be happening within those poses, if you will. Okay, so hey Maria, welcome. All right, so I'm accidentally hitting the wrong keys here. Okay, so right out of the gate, how long is he going to be like stunned? I think almost a second. So we're working at 8 frames a second. So let's drag this down here, and then play it back at 4 frames a second. Okay, sorry, my bad. If I'm going to do it that way at the lower frame rate, then I need to cut everything in half. So boom. Boom. Yep, okay. So this one's way too short as well. Let's give that a second. Boom. Boom. Okay, and then this is all too slow. Okay, so that's helpful. I'm going to bump this back up to 8. And now I'm going to ask myself an interesting question about Tahoma where I don't know the answer is. If I take these groups of 4 frames apiece per pose, and I reframe them on 2s, does it actually just double whatever's there, or does it switch it to being on 2s? I'm guessing it's going to switch it to being on 2s. And it did. So that's not really what I wanted. What I wanted to do was drag this out to 8 frames and drag this out to 8 frames. So now we're at 16. And presumably there would be a breath at the end. Let's give it a second. That might be longer than we need, but let's just give it a second. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So now let's see how the animation feels. Let's kick the frame rate back up to 8. I guess I already did that. What? Okay. This feels slightly short. I mean, yeah, short. Needs to be a little longer. Boom. Shake, shake, shake. Okay, it's still too short. So you'll find this happens most of the time. Animation, when you're blocking in timing, if you find that you're always making things happen way too fast, things change too quickly and whatnot, don't cry about it. That's normal. That's really, really normal. Bump. Okay, not bad. Okay, so let's go from here. What I want to see here is a nice quick spin around, and then right here, I'm feeling like that wants to hold for 2 or 3 frames. Okay. Yeah, other than these last 2 poses might be, you might want to extend this one a frame as well. Just give the audience a little bit of time to digest what's happening here. So boom, he's going to shake, 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 wheel around, and out. Okay, not bad, not bad. I mean, I feel like that's probably the shot right there. Okay, and this, we're right in that mid zone. Not quite sure I liked it. I think I'm going to leave it faster. One thing we could do potentially is the grab. Give the grab 1 frame more. Let's just see. So that we're grabbing it. It's a clear sequence. Yes, there we go. There's our timing. Wheel around, grab, swing. I'm going to actually even say possibly 1 extra frame on this one. Wheel around, boom, boom. Yep, bop, bop, bop. So it's kind of musical. Just for fun, let's see what happens if we stretch it to half a second apiece, just to see how it feels. Wheel around, bop, bop. I actually like that better. Feels slightly more emphatic, more that kind of thing. So I'm feeling like that's probably better. Okay, I like it. By the way, Darren, I wanted to, okay, let me look at the comments. I'm learning that my tendency is to have things happen fast. Again, it's so normal, Maria. It's exactly what I do all the time. And then I have to fiddle with timing. You know, and you may learn to err on the conservative side and actually make things longer than you think, and you'll probably find that you're spot on more of the time, you know. But if you're just breaking down scenes, you know, you're seeing here in real time how I do it. Other people may do it differently. I don't really know, actually. Okay, Darren, got a question for you if you're there. Do you know right out of the, just offhand, do you know of some kind of schematic-based noise modifier? Is there an effect that gives us, or something, maybe a formula um, that gives us the ability to just do the camera shake, to shake the character without having to manually animate it? If you happen to know, let me know. I'd be curious about that. I've been thinking, because obviously in Blender that's pretty easy to do with a noise modifier. Um, It'd be nice to have, definitely. But I'm actually loving this scene. I actually am loving this shot. I really like what I'm seeing. I'm going to stretch it out to 48 frames. Okay, one more thing I want to look at right here. Yes, this needs to go for half a second. Sorry about that, guys. Boom. It's starting to feel like a show. It's starting to feel like a show. What if we stretch this out to actually 1 full second? My bad. I just shortened the wrong thing. Let me shorten that back up again. I'm hitting Control X. I think I meant this one up here. Yeah, this one. This, I want to stretch out 4 frames. Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks, Darren. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Okay, now there's a reason why this works. It works because this pose right here, he's not going to look like that in that pose. When he gets to this pose, he's going to look angry. He's not going to look surprised. So I'm just using the same drawing again. We're going to be putting his facial features on a different level. So that doesn't matter, as long as the overall feeling of the motion is correct. Now, in this particular case, oh, by the way, Darren, while I'm thinking about it, there's something I want to say. We talked the other day about the frame range fill option, okay? And I have to think about what it was, but it wasn't by placing nodes on the plastic tool. It was something else in Tahoma that revealed to me that indeed, I wish I could remember what it was. I don't remember what I was doing, but it revealed to me that indeed clicking with my stylus is putting down 2 points. It's registering 2 clicks. I believe that is a tablet driver issue. Why do I mention that? Because I'm pretty sure that the frame range option for filling in normal mode works fine. I just have to use my mouse. I'm going to actually say let's test that. Let's test that right now. Sorry guys, we're going to indulge a brief distraction from this scene in order to test something. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape, and then I'm going to draw a shape here, and I'm going to draw a shape here. Okay, and I'm going to add another color. Okay, and by the way, I need to make sure this shape is closed. Gap closing is a whole nother issue, which works pretty well in Tahoma. But what we want to find out now is this. If I hit the fill tool, I was having an issue where if I'm in normal mode, just a normal fill where you click and it fills, if I put Tahoma into frame range mode, it was not working. But think about it. What was happening is I would click, and now it seems to be working, which is really weird. But what would happen is I would click, and it would immediately fill, and then the frame range option wouldn't work. Well, what that told me was what was actually happening was I was clicking twice without wanting to, because my tablet was registering 2 clicks. So the good news is if I click once, go forward 2 frames, and click again, it should work. Now in this case, actually, it's not going to work. Okay, let me backpedal just a little bit. Let me do this, and you'll see that it didn't work quite as well as I hoped. Okay, here's why. If I'm going to do this, I need to click over here on the right so that I know that the click is going to register in the second circle. And then on the third circle, I'm going to click there, and now watch. Ta-da, it works perfectly. So the problem is solved. And so thanks for your input on that. You were editing points on a shape. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for, yes, that is what I was doing. Yeah, so thanks for remembering that, man. And when I turned off the pen and gesture settings, the double click stopped. Tom is right. And that's why the frame range option worked just now, even though I used my stylus. So you guys are priceless to me. I mean, your assistance with these little tips and tricks that you throw in when I'm trying to get my work done. I can't thank you guys enough for your input. It's tremendous. Okay, so anyway, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so now we're going to build out. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another Tunes raster level. So I'm just going to hit the B key and click somewhere. Obviously, this is not the face from here to here, but I can't do that. So why don't we just do it this way? Let's just go ahead and animate this as best we can. I won't worry so much about the timing, but he's going to have surprised eyes. And then we'll say, we'll leave the eyes kind of googly. And his mouth opens more. So this is what I mean by building out. I probably shouldn't color in his mouth. Actually, I should use the fill tool for that. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take this drawing and just hit the eraser and get rid of his face so that it's not causing a distraction. Okay? There we go. Hope that makes sense. Dark Snakes. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, yeah. Hi, dude. I need your help so much. What's the problem, Dark Snakes? Talk to us. Between me and everybody else here, I suspect we'll probably find your answer for you. So let me know what the problem is, dude. If we can help, we're happy to. Darren, point me to it. You found a page that shows. That's in the Tahoma documentation, I assume? If so, I'll go ahead and open it up in another browser window here, and if you can just give an indication of where we would find it, if indeed it is in the documentation, that would be great. Great. Okay, so back to here, and okay, and then here he turns down like this, so I'm just going to split this in half, man. I'm going to do this as simple as possible. It's not exactly half, but problem is with the sub X sheet. Okay, I've been using a lot of those this week, so yeah, what's the problem, man? Take your time and write a full description of the question and or issues, and we'll do our best to answer it. Okay, here we're gonna kind of do this way. And again, we're going to do the shake thing. Now we're going to have to, when we do this in the schematic, what we're going to have to do is probably link the body and head or face layers together. And by the way, the only reason I'm specifically putting the face in a separate level here, even though we changed poses, is because I'm assuming it may come up more than once that I want to have multiple frames of facial animation within one given body pose. That's all. So, okie dokie. So let me zoom out a little bit. I swear I should change the name of my live stream to just animating with Tahoma and OpenTunes instead of Tahoma and Krita, because I have not touched Krita, and we're into our second week of I haven't even opened Krita, if you guys can believe it. I was telling Valerie about this. You know, basically in 2020, I got overly enamored with the elegance of sort of being able to do everything within Krita, and I think buttressed by the fact that I had done quite a few shots in Krita that came out pretty well. But the reality is, I'm getting so much more done that's consistently better just staying in Tahoma that I'm not even sweating it anymore. Okay, I wanted to do every character in a different sub-X sheet, and even the small parts like the head in different sub-X sheets inside the sub. Okay, that's reasonable. I've been doing that type of thing. What I've been doing is building up the character with ink and paint plus their shadows plus typically their eyes and or their mouth is one sub-X sheet. That feeds up into another sub-X sheet to which I apply the plastic tool, and then the combination of the plastic tool and the character is in a higher level sub-X sheet, or the main X sheet, which is where I comp it against the background. The animation is not showing in the, yeah, okay, here you go, dude. Here's what you want to do. Grab the header of the sub-X sheet. Let me pull this up, guys, right now for Dark Snakes, because the solution to his problem is quite simple, and he just doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to hope that grabbing another recent scene is going to do the trick. Okay. Well, this doesn't have a sub-X sheet. Let me go back a couple shots because I've got the solution here, and it's really going to be quite easy to show. Okay, so let me go back. Let's go back to this one. Let's go back to 535. He does. Exactly, Darren. That's what you need to do. On the column that contains the sub-X sheet, what you're going to do is you're going to right mouse click on the header, and there's a menu option called resequence. And that tells the next higher up level sub-X sheet to calculate the new animation that you did within the sub-X sheet and then reveal it in the next higher level up. And if you do that, you'll be able to nest multiple levels and everything just works. So I will show it here if I can. I'm just kind of hoping I can grab a recent shot that shows what we're looking for. 530 would work. Okay, here we go. I've got a sub-X sheet here, and then I've got a sub-X sheet here. So down here you've got the character, his shadows, his eyes, and his mouth. Okay? So the mouth is animated, and what would happen, Dark Snakes, if I went into this level and added some more lip sync? Well, what would happen is I'd go up to this level where I've applied the plastic tool to him, and the animation would not show up here. The solution is I right mouse click here, and I click resequence. Okay? There you go. There it is. I'm almost guaranteed that's going to solve your problem for you. So let's go back to 537 and get back to work. We'll discard the changes. So there you go. You know, and by the way, I'm pretty darn sure it was Darren about a year ago or more that told me that. Now it would be even more. It's got to have been a year and a half. It's been a long time, because that came up way back when I was using OpenTunes with Jeremy Bullock's OpenTunes portable that he did back in, I think, 2018. So there you go. Oh, you've tried it and it didn't work. Okay, it worked. Okay, good. We dodged a bullet there, didn't we, folks? We dodged a bullet. Well, we've helped Dark Snakes solve his problem, and we're happy about that. Okay, so now we're back here. So I'm loving this. Boom. Huh? Okay, so now there's an interesting thing that we've noticed here. Because of, okay, so let me be really clear about what's about to happen. Number one, the likelihood is that this particular pose with this particular expression is going to be modified by the plastic tool. Why? Because all I want to do is have like 2 frames where he just stands up straight. We just want to suggest to the audience that the movement happened. It doesn't have to look that great, because when we cut into the scene, it's going to be like seeing this. Boop. That's all you're going to see. So we'll do that with the plastic tool. But there's a caveat, which is if we're going to do that, then this pose is probably not long enough. So to make it longer, I'm going to say let's stretch this out to 1 full second. Okay? If we stretch this out to 1 full second, because when I played this back with the change in expression, the expressions were not registering on the screen long enough for me as the audience to enjoy them and see what we're seeing here. So now I'm going to stretch this out even more. Okay, not bad. This one, I would say we want to stretch it 2 frames. So now the question becomes, hey, Dave, how are you taking your entire X sheet and moving everything down 2 frames without stretching the individual sequences? And the answer is preferences. I'm sorry, not preferences. My bad. I'm going to go to Configure Shortcuts, and I'm going to look up the word Insert. Insert below, insert before. No, that's not it. Insert frame. Insert frame. Alt down. And so I'm thinking that the other one might be remove frame. Yep, remove frame, alt up. Takes your whole X sheet and just takes everything, including animation keyframes, and moves them up or down. Basically deletes frames right across. It's a great way to ripple edit. It's really significant because if you do this on, if you had Plastic Tool or some other animation keys in here, and you took a hold of this row and stretched it down this way, the animation keys would not move. You would have to manually go in and move them. So, your name is Torn. Man, you helped me so much. Yeah, cool, man. Right, rock and roll. Come back later and show us what you did. It's good. All right, so here we go. Boom, boom. Okay, cool. I like this. So that feels pretty good. And now what we need is Darren. Do you have the I'm gonna go up in the chat and I'm looking for the link Darren gave to the shake expression. You might have missed the link for the shake expression earlier in the... Darren, I see your comment that says you found a page that shows the camera shake. I do not see a comment where you posted something that would point me to the solution. Yeah, Darren's completely right. Super quick way to retime things. I've been using it a lot here today, but I haven't been pointing it out every time I use it because I just do it all the time. I've got 3 or 4 levels of stuff that are all working as a unit. I just want to go like this and have everything just move up and down so I can dial in my timing. So sorry to bug you, Darren, but if you have a, if you can get specific there about what the expression is. Okay. Well, that's what I was going to say. I think you might have to put something in the chat that kind of points us in the right direction without the actual link. Because I think that's right. I don't think you can put in the link. If you have a way to do it, do it. If not, you can always email me later or whatever, and we'll figure it out. So, but I mean, it's just, you know, you're saving me some searching. You know, and I greatly appreciate it. So, okay. So now this is feeling pretty good. What? Why you? Okay, this feels like it's still a little fast. What? Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And yeah, and by the way, I'll tell you what I'll do right now. In another browser window on the screen you guys can't see, I will actually go to Darren's Discord server right now, just so that if you want to go ahead and post something there, I'll see it. So I'm going to the main Darren T Animations Discord server, so I'm there. So you could post it there as well. Okay, there we go. GitHub. Okay, great. Let me see here. Let me pop that in another window and see what we can get. GitHub.com. Thank you, sir. GitHub.com/OpenTunes, and we'll all learn this together. /OpenTunes. This sounds like a download link, though. I gather it must be something someone else posted. Ah, here we go. Okay, so this is what Darren's referring to. A new expression function, periodic random. Okay, this... Oh, so it's, okay. That's definitely what we want. Do we need to... Well, those are all the variables, so it's... Yes, that's exactly what we want. Um, sorry about my ignorance here, but where do we actually get it? Or is it already in there? Okay. Okay, so it's an expression. I wonder if we are optional in term random sources. Oh, okay. So these are just different ways that one might want to write the expression. So Darren, just to be clear, is the I know this is really a stupid question, but is this to say that the random function is already in Tahoma and we just need to go ahead and access it as a expression in the function editor? Is that what we're doing here? I would assume so, but and if so, I mean we can find out soon enough. What we would have to do, friends, is let's just try it. Let's hit the animate tool. We can always delete our keys later. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a global key right now and insert another key here. And then what I'm going to do is double click on that. Well, that didn't work. I'm going to go to the function editor. And for column 2, okay. So I'm going to go to column 2 and I'm looking for I didn't really put in an actual movement key, so I better do that. So let's just change the position a little bit. I'm just moving his face, obviously, for testing purposes. So now I'm hitting F3, which for me, I'm sorry, F2, does open up the schematic, and there we see this. And then this might be a real stupid attack on my part, but my assumption would be that if we grab this, then we're able to, that's the different rooms, frankly, in Tahoma. So, but Tom's got the right idea here, which would be interpolation constant. What I'm looking for is the idea that I would assume if there's a change on the X and we grab these two keys, that we should be able to change the interpolation, but we can't. Set keys, which I did, paste the function into the timing room expression text box. The timing room expression text box. Where is the timing room expression text box? Right click the line between the keys. Okay. And choose the expression type. Thank you, sir. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. Click the line between the keys and choose the expression type. Expression interpolation. Okay. And now we're okay, and there's the expression. Okay, and so now what we would do is we would actually put in random. Okay, so okay. So this would be what we would do is we would put RND. Oh, come on, it's not letting me type. Really, dude? Why can't I type the expression? Let's go here. It's expression. We've got this selected. If you change to the spreadsheet view and click between your two keys, okay, let's do that. I'm kind of more comfortable with the whole spreadsheet thing anyway. So here we go. Here are some keys, and we click between our two keys. Can we select the range? Change interpolation to Maybe not. Change interpolation. So the expression thing isn't here like it was in the timing, you know, against the graph. Okay, let me try it, Tom. Thank you. I'm sorry for frustrating you. I'm gonna look here on my other screen for a just like a simple example. Yeah, Tom, it's gotta be so frustrating, dude. You were so close, man. All right, let me try this again. Grab this. We'll just leave it here. And that's set to expression. Let's grab X. Okay. Expression. And theoretically, I am both pasting and typing, and neither one works. So we've got one of those little interface things I tend to rant about, which is that you have an interface element that allows you to give input but actually doesn't, which I think is a little silly. It should be either grayed out so you can't do it, but it does seem like what you'd want to do here is type an expression. Why won't it let me type it? Oh, now it does. Okay, that's weird. Now you got to sort of unpack the exact order of events. So there's random. And okay. Random in a period. Sorry about this. I have to look at the. I guess what I'll do is I'll just go. I'll just use the example. So I'm going to do random 0, 1 and just see what happens. Okay? And apply. Okay, very good. Very good. So that worked. I can figure it out from there. And so if you look really closely here, guys, what you can see is his face is shaking. That's exact. Okay, that wasn't quite what I wanted, so it kind of botched my interpolation for me. But at least I have a path forward now, so that's great. I have a path forward. That type of a shake is a little too slow, but I'll be able to dial it in. So thank you, guys. That is super duper cool. Yep. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. So now we know how to do it. I'm not going to worry about getting it right at this point. I don't think that's important. This is going to be important. This needs to be this is where the shake happens, actually. So let's go ahead and have fun with this expression, not mathematical expression in this function editor, but facial expression. Now I'm being a little sketchy here, so because I am in a I'm in a smart raster level, I need to be careful not to introduce too much garbage here, but and obviously he's pretty small on the screen. But I like that. I mean, maybe not quite perfect on the mouth, but the basic concept is pretty close to what I had in mind. Okay, let's look at this. This probably needs to be exaggerated a little bit more. I'll play with it. It could be that having the shake all the way through to here would be a good thing. Initially, I was thinking it would be here, but it could be here too. Probably should be, frankly. And if we're going to do that, let's take a look and see if what we really should do is have the shake stop, and then he settles for a moment before he turns around, which means that this whole shot right here probably needs to be a little bit longer. Shake, shake, shake. Boom, yeah. definitely. So I'm going to take my Alt down arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would say. So he's going to basically shake here, here, and then stop, turn. Okay. Stop, turn, wheels around. Okay, we can play with the timing a little bit later, but basically his face is probably done, although let's do this. Let's have a little more fun with this. I'm going to hit the duplicate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. I guess I'm going to change this one to be more wide-eyed. And then I'm going to change this one. So let me hit the selection tool. I'm going to copy this from here to here. So let's erase this. Hit the S key and Control V, paste this in. Yes, perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control X. And we'll just take this out so that I can go like this. Control C, V, V, V. And then which one do we want? Probably this one. So we'll take number 4 here. You guys, this will make sense in a minute if it doesn't already. But the idea is this, right? What? Shake. Yeah, I like it. I'm liking the way this feels. Very, very much has that anime tone that I've really been enjoying. So, yes, great idea, Tom. Great idea. Great idea. Let's do it. So what Tom's talking about, we don't necessarily need, let me just to be safe, I'll put this in a different color in case I decide later I want it to be a different color. So let me turn my background image down a little bit so we're not getting confused by it. But what Tom's talking about is what we want is this. And then probably let's put in an onion skin so that we can kind of just trace this, and so it'll just be a little different. And then probably make it blood red. Turn the onion skins off, and I'll bet you that's going to look really cool. Let's find out. Yeah, not bad. Now, it's, you know, I mean, one could argue that we should have one on both sides. I like that. Nice call, Tom. Nice call. Now, normally, okay, just to be clear, normally when you're talking about the anime veins, they usually are on the skin, so I'm kind of breaking the rules here a little bit. I think in this case I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to go like this. Nah, that wasn't quite good. I'm going to go like this and put it on both sides just to see if I like that better. So I'm just basically doing the old thing where you trace it just so there's a tiny bit of variation in the drawings. Obviously what I've done mostly in the past is this thing, which is also quite effective. Frankly, we could put that in there and see if we like it too. There's no harm in trying. We can always erase it because this is going by pretty fast and it's supposed to convey quite a lot of irritation, right? That, you know what? I almost think let's get rid of the vein thing on the... Yeah. Okay. Well, because, look, he doesn't have any skin available really, like on his temple or forehead or anything. So let's just do it this way. Let's split the difference here. And let's get rid of this and get rid of this. And maybe this will be the effect. What? Okay, yeah. And so then here, what we actually need to do is take this out. I got to cheat here a little bit. I need to put in 4 and then make a duplicate. Take 4 back out. And so this is going to be 6. And then I'm going to erase these out of number 6. And I think we've got it. Here we go. What? Boom. Excellent. I love it. I think this is going to be a really fun shot. Okay, maybe a slight rotation on them too with a scale up or down. Yeah, I'm not going to do that now. I've played with that at different times. Sometimes sometimes the rotation feels right, sometimes not. It just depends. In this case, it all goes by so quickly that I tend to think I'm liking that one the way it is. So there's a million little variations on the idea for sure. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, I'm not going to worry about the expression to shake him right now. What I am going to do is say, let's go ahead and do ink and paint on his body all the way through to frame 21. Actually, all the way to frame 45. It's one drawing. There's only one drawing. So let's go ahead and just deal with this and get his ink and paint blocked in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the B key, and now I'm going to go ahead and turn the smoothing up a little bit. Okay. Now we want to be a little careful here because, as I said, this is one drawing that's going to be on the screen over a whole bunch of frames. So let's not be too sloppy about it. These other drawings where he's wheeling around, I can be as sloppy as the day is long because it's going to go by real fast and the audience is not going to know or care if it's not super-de-duper accurate. Is that a word, super-de-duper? I don't know. I don't think super-de-duper is actually a word. I'm using one of my wonderful voiceover voices, you know, because people always ask me, they say, Dave, they say, where are you going to get the voices for your anime or your cartoon? Where will you get the voices? I say, well, I am a voice actor, but no, I actually, my daughter, who is a pretty accomplished actress to a degree, has agreed to be Tianara, and I did some tests because I wasn't sure her voice was actually going to work. And so I A-B'd her against the girl that played the lead in the last movie I produced, and I was really surprised because it was like, oh my gosh, it's no contest. It was like, yeah, Natalie is Tianara. It was really kind of startling how well she worked on the character. So I'm like, okay, that's cool because that's my daughter, and so I know she's available, and she's cheap, right? But I do need to find a voice for Vespar, and then there's a bunch of other characters that are going to have to be voiced by other people. I've got some actors and some budding voice actors on tap that are already in the loop too for consideration. But as I mentioned last week or so, I will be doing a formal casting call where, like, YouTubers like yourselves that kind of think maybe you'd like to try it, as Maria did, by the way. That opportunity certainly will be forthcoming. The question is when? When, Dave? When are you going to do this? And the answer is, I just need to get to it. Pretty soon. Pretty soon. I'm waiting. I'm actually waiting. Confidentially, which of course isn't very confidential since we're live on YouTube. I am waiting to reconfer with my film distributor. Just because I believe on the 20th, so 4 days from now, he's got a meeting with a fairly sizable digital platform that maybe might have an interest in underwriting the cartoon and for whatever reasons, potentially in exchange for a window of exclusivity where it's only available on their platform, that type of thing. And so we want to kind of see what the temperature is there, feel the temperature in that room and see if there's some interest there, because if there is, then that could change the equation in terms of whether a crowdfund is even necessary. Again, it's a long shot, but it could happen. I mean, it's one of those things. So, all right, it's a Dr. Seuss approved expression. Scrambled eggs, super-de-duper-de-duper. Special deluxe, a la Peter T. Cooper. I love it. I love it. I used to read Dr. Seuss books to my kids I'm jumping over to the show here. I actually want to come back to a couple earlier shots here. There's a seam here, and then there's kind of dual seams going down here. And then I don't want to forget the shoulder accoutrements. So, with that said, boom, 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 boom. Super-de-duper. Thanks, Maria, for tuning in, or chiming in, I should say, with that bit of pop culture knowledge. And I made it too short, and then I turned around and made it too long. There we go. All right, B key. So we want to kind of put the indication of the seam just gently here. Just gently, just gently. Okay. Back the heck up. And I want really stiff, I want a stiff feeling here on his sleeves. Yeah, it feels about right. And then this comes down like this. There is a bottom to it, but I don't think in this shot you'd really see it. So, super-de-duper. And you'll notice, folks, that if I hit the fill tool or the fill check, it looks like we are not filled, and I know why. Because I see the little leak right here. Better zoom in and see. Aha! Watch this. Ba-da! Okay, now we're good. All right, control. Well, it's a hotkey I set up, but it's Shift Control F, which turns fill check on and off. Quite useful. Quite useful here in the real world. But here in the real world. Who did that? Gosh, that was Alan Jackson, I think. It's definitely from that vintage. Here in the real world. Alan Jackson, basically in the 90s. Keith Whitley vintage, that type of a time frame. Some good stuff. I think that country music had its best era in the 1990s. And then what happened was Big and Rich came along. And when Big and Rich came along in I think the late 90s, early 2000s, from then on, every new hit country song has a hip-hop beat behind it. Ever since Big and Rich. And which is fine. I mean, they introduced sort of a rap-ish type of element to country music that has, well, I mean, they sold a lot of records, so what do you think's going to happen? Everybody on board with this? We're looking all right? I think one thing I want to consider is a slight repositioning of the poor guy's face. So if I hit the S key, just move the whole thing, I think that would probably be apropos in this case. And now we have a problem. I forgot about this little change. So his, yes. So his body will not change. So I'll hit the D key. And then what we're going to do, watch this. When we hit the eraser, we're just going to get rid of all that. Dude! Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Smack that up there. Smack that down there. Stretch that out. And oh, that feels good. That feels good. This is going to be coming down over his face a little more now. It's going to be hard to paint. Probably going to have to fiddle with it a bit. That's okay. But here in the real world, I don't know the words. Alan Jackson. I've seen that guy's house. That dude has a seriously big house. Down in Brentwood, Tennessee. Got a good friend down in Brentwood, Tennessee. Brentwood, Franklin, that area. Nashville. It's basically it's a fairly well-to-do suburb of Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee. Oh yes, Nashville, Tennessee. Country Music USA. For those of you who are new here and think that like I'm a country music maven, I'm not. I like it. I like some. I mean, it just depends. Always thought George Strait was quite talented. Brilliant at picking songs, because he didn't write his own stuff. Still doesn't. But man, the guy had a good instinct. And I don't know if he did it all himself or if he had helpers and handlers that participated, but that guy knows how to pick a hit song for himself. George Strait, what an amazing career that guy's had. I think I'm just going to leave that in purple shadow. And it looks like there's a couple people who've checked out. It looks like we don't have as many concurrent viewers now, which is a little disappointing. A little disappointing, people. Why are people fleeing? I'm just getting to the good part here. People are splitting. What's up with that? Okay, keep inking and painting. Go, go, go. All right, B key. This is going to be B key. This is going to be the B key. Yep, B key. We can always use the selection tool to cut and paste between these frames if we want to. So there we go. So now what do we do? Boom. Now by putting those keyframes in before I actually draw them, I can kind of deal with some basic timing issues. I'm looking at this top of his helmet thing right now to just kind of map out where that's going to move to. Like so. That's actually probably a slightly high. Ba-doom-doom. But the guy don't always get the girl here in the real world. Right on. That's my country music voice. Unlike my Motown voice. I know you wanna leave me, but I refuse to let you go. All right, where are we at? I know you guys are thinking, okay, Dave, you're always a little high-strung, but you seem a little more bipolar today than some other days. No, I'm just in a good mood. It's all good. I've been having, as I said at the beginning of the live stream today, I've been having a tremendous amount of fun. Looking at Maria's comments, moved to Nashville a long time ago. Yeah, it's tough, man. I've been on Music Row. Music Row is a dump. I don't know if you've ever been there, but oh my gosh. Nashville's a beautiful town, and it's really growing. I mean, it's a great town. But the legend surrounding Music Row is quite a good bit more glamorous than the reality. If you actually go down there and see what it is, it's basically it's a ratty neighborhood with a bunch of houses all real packed real tight together. That's basically Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. But I do know people that have gone down there and tried to do the country music thing, or actually Nashville. A lot of people don't realize is also a hotbed for advertising. Your main advertising hubs in the United States are Nashville, L.A., and New York. So, but a lot of people don't realize Nashville is one of the biggies for advertising. And the particular person I'm thinking of, who I visited actually 2 summers ago, the last time I visited Nashville, and got to see Kiss on their final tour. My buddy and I went and actually saw Kiss downtown in Nashville, and oh my gosh. I've never been a huge fan, okay? But I just had to do it. I had to at least see him once. And I'll tell you what, and my friend Mark, he told me he's seen him several times, and that the show in 2018, I guess it was 18? No, it was 2019. The show in 2019 was absolutely bigger, more bombastic, more explosions, more smoke, more lights, more everything than ever before. And we had a great time. But yeah, and actually, to be accurate, my friend that I'm referring to, the whole reason he moved to Nashville was because his wife was a singer, and she wanted to try to be a star. Sometimes people do that. They just kind of pack up their things and head to Nash Vegas and to try their luck. And of course, in her case, it didn't really come to anything. But hey, man, it never hurts to try. Never hurts to try. 'Cause the boy don't always get the girl here in the real world. All right, boom, boom. So this sleeve is gonna come out. Boom. No, I'm just a creative guy, and that's why I make all kinds of funny voices, like my Zap Brannigan voice. Um, and sing and play every instrument. Well, I mean, play guitar, bass, keyboards, drums. Anyway, I'm a little more challenged when it comes to woodwinds. Yeah, okay. Kind of go like that. Well, a gun turned out the way he thought, but he's happy with what did happen. Yeah, and I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities because it is a booming town, and again, the advertising, the commercial media space is very active. That's what my friend does. He's involved in the commercial media space, as am I. Our businesses developed somewhat in tandem. I worked for him, actually. This was the first guy I worked for out of college, and he became one of my great friends and mentors. And so our businesses have a great deal in common insofar as the commercial media stuff that we've done over the years. I like the Parthenon in Nashville. I never went there. Hunting down for years. Yeah. Yep. I remember. I had a brush with greatness. If you're into this, if you're into this level of greatness, the day that 9/11 happened, literally September 11th, 2001. Got up that day because I was going to do a road trip down to Nashville to hang out with Mark. And Mark was friends. So we get down there, and I'm in Nashville, and he's actually breaking in a new building because he had just moved there recently, right? So he's breaking in his new office. Why am I putting a belt on this guy? He's breaking in his new office, and we're all like literally sitting there speculating about all this stuff about these planes that flew into the buildings, right? And so it was a crazy day, and it was made additionally crazy for two reasons. Reason number one is, before I actually hopped in the vehicle to drive down to Nashville, I loped out to the mailbox to check the mail. Now, at that time, I owned a farm, actually. It was a horse farm here in Indiana. It was like a 40-stall horse farm. Okay? And not that that's really germane to the story, I guess, but that thing was a money pit. I'm glad I got rid of it. But anyway, anybody who's owned a horse barn will tell you that. So I lope out to the mailbox, and I landed wrong and sprained my ankle. And I drove to Nashville, and by the time I got to Nashville, my ankle was like the size of a grapefruit. Not even joking, not exaggerating. It was bad. I did not seek medical care. I mean, I've had some injuries over the years. There's a few other funny ones I could tell you about, ways that I've gotten myself hurt. When I had the old horse barn. But the highlight of the day on September 11th, 2001 for me wasn't, we didn't expect this news. The highlight of the day was that we were going to go have lunch with John Schlitt. You say, well, who the heck's John Schlitt? Well, John Schlitt was the lead singer for this band called Petra. You say, well, who the heck's Petra? Well, yeah, you probably haven't heard of Petra. Nobody's heard of Petra anymore. But back then, they were kind of a thing because in the world, there was this thing in sort of the faith-based music world called Christian rock. Okay? And so this band was called Petra. And in the 80s and 90s, they were the biggest, baddest thing in so-called Christian music, really. Not in Christian music, because in music that wasn't rock, There were other people that were bigger, like your Amy Grants and Stephen Chris Chapman, I suppose, people like that, who lives in Nashville as well and has a house about the same size as Alan Jackson. Um, but yeah, we went and picked up Wendy's and went and had lunch with John Schlitt, and he played the latest Petra album because he had sort of the pre-mix of it, and um, it was a lot of fun. As I say, for me at that time, that was kind of a brush with greatness because I had been a fan of the band. I liked their music and had listened to it going back to my high school days. And he's a heck of a singer. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about this like hair band? You talk about the hair band thing, and bands like probably the best is the best. Um, well, okay, let's put it this way. Does anybody remember the song? Uh, what is it? I'm trying to think of the exact title of it. Can't even think of a reason or Never Been Any Reason. So there's a hit song in the 1970s called Never Been Any Reason by a group called Head East. They had this album that was a breakout hit called Flat as a Pancake. And so they had this song, Ain't never been any reason for you to think about me. So the chorus was, I think it was like, change my life, I'm going down for the last time. Woman with a sweet loving better than a white line. I think, for referring to cocaine or something. So that was way back in the 70s. Well, John was the guy that sang that song. He was the lead singer for Head East. And then he had he had some come to Jesus moment or something and decided that the conventional rock and roll band thing wasn't really for him anymore. And he decided to get out of it. So he did, and he went on essentially a hiatus from the music industry for several years until it just kind of happened that this Christian band called Petra needed a singer. What the heck here? Oh, I see what I did wrong. Sorry. Undo, undo. Is this going to let me undo? Ah, it did. So I want to hit the S key and hit Control C. So yeah, John went from being Head East's lead singer to Petra's lead singer. Why is it not pasting in? That's kind of weird. Oh wait, this is drawing number 1 again. I see what I did wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I'm making a stupid mistake here. So I got to go back here one more time. This was... Wait a minute. No, it's not. It's not working. Let's do it this way. Oh, stupid attack. It's in the face. Duh. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed here, people. That was an embarrassing boo-boo. I am a silly goose. I'm a silly goose. There we go. Now we are back in good stead, with the caveat that his nose might be a little off center because I moved everything else. But no, I think I'm okay. Yeah. So anyway, September 11th, 2001, that's what I was doing, is I was having lunch with John Schlitt and marveling over the fact that 9/11, or so to speak, happened. Okay, that wasn't what I wanted to do there either. I guess what I'm doing here is I'm baking the face into into the body from here on, so that's fine. We can do that. Keep her loose. Keep it loosey-goosey. That's fine. He's wheeling around. While at the same time nursing a major sprained ankle, so that was not fun. Not fun at all. May I say to you people, it wasn't fun. I did not enjoy it. No, no, no. Alright, so now, let's go, let's get this goofy little headdress thing, and I think, for my purposes, I am literally going to just flow it into the fabric, so to speak. I think that'll be fine. So wrinkles, we gotta have some wrinkles here. Kind of Dr. Seuss style wrinkles, by the way, huh, Maria? Um, Again, this is on the screen for one frame, so we're not going to belabor these frames too much. As long as the basic zones of color are okay, we're probably fine. One flaw that I can see right now as I'm doing this is that the little shoulder pad things are missing. So let's just kind of put a little thing there. I probably should erase this and actually put it in there. But yeah, she probably knows, John. Well, you know, and he hasn't been, basically the band kind of retired about, I don't know, it's actually been pushing 10 years, come to think of it. And then the guy that kind of owned the intellectual property of the name of the band and really was the primary songwriter and the driving force behind the group, a guy named Bob Hartman, he for a really brief period there, he put together a version of the band that was the band that had toured in 1985. And they called it Classic Petra, and they just did a tour using the prior lead singer and just having fun remembering the good old days. Pretty much recreated their 1985 tour, which I had seen when I was, you know, a freshman in college. You know, it was a lot of fun, and that guy was a heck of a singer too. Oh my gosh, he was a stratospheric singer. What I was going to say earlier is if you wanted to relate John's voice, you would think about somebody like Don Dokken from Dokken, or to a lesser degree, name escapes me, but from Def Leppard. You know, kind of a really rangy singer with a little bit of a scratchy sound kind of thing. But man, he was good. Still is, actually, for his age. Now, he's really good friends with John Elefante. So this is how all these people connect. It's kind of interesting. So there's a guy that appears on Fox News all the time. Now, full disclosure here, I'm not a big Fox News fan, okay? But there's a guy who knows somebody that I know who appears on Fox News as kind of a pundit all the time as a legal analyst or whatever, a guy named Jay Sekulow, okay? So Jay lives in Nashville, although he's got an office in D.C. And Jay is actually a really good drummer. A lot of people don't know that the world-famous attorney Jay Sekulow, who was one of Donald Trump's personal attorneys, well, Jay is actually a really good drummer, right? And so he's got this group called the Jay Sekulow Band, and John sings in that band. And they do little fundraisers and things like that every once in a while. They're in Nashville for the most part. And then the other guy who's a singer in that band is a guy named John Elefante. Well, John Elefante was the singer who took over for Steve Walsh in Kansas. So if you liked Kansas back in the 80s, John Elefante is the guy that was the singer on their album Audio Vision. So the big hit from that album was Play the Game Tonight. You know, hey, play the game tonight. Can you tell me if it's wrong or right? On and on and on it goes. So Elefante was actually the singer. They changed singers, and a lot of people, you know, he sounded a lot like Steve Walsh, so a lot of people couldn't even tell they had changed singers. They auditioned a bazillion guys, apparently. But Elefante, that guy, to this day, at whatever he is, 60-some years old, he can hit every note. I mean, I'm telling you what, that dude, he can sing. He has taken super good care of his voice. But these guys down in Nashville, they're all kind of part of the sort of evangelical Christian crowd down there. Obviously, highly, they're all. I think it's safe to say they're all pretty much Trumpers too, because obviously Jay worked for Donald, and on it goes. So, but you know, so my friend Mark is acquainted with Jay Sekulow, you know, and they've come across each other in different places, and it's all kind of neat. So I actually met Jay Sekulow when we went to the Kiss concert because Jay was there. Who knew? You know, so yeah, it's kind of weird. So, but yeah, Jay's a very good drummer. You know, who knew? And so, like I said, they do these little fundraisers and stuff. And you know, while I may not be on board with their politics anymore, certainly way less than I used to be, I will say that I certainly respect their musicianship because those guys are talented. Isn't that weird? Weird stuff. Kind of fun. Um, let's see. This is going to be on the screen for a little longer. So I'm going to kind of go like that and sort of indicate his hand kind of going behind the curtain. I think is the way I'm going to have to play that. But yeah, I always get a kick out of remembering what I was doing on 9/11 because that day was quite a mess. But yet in a way it was kind of fun too, you know. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And this was before I ever got into filmmaking actually, because that really didn't even happen until, well, I guess it kind of started in the 2006 era, but then really kind of came into its own where I got a break to, you know, basically got a contract to independently produce made-for-TV movies is really what it amounted to, and that would have been around 2010. Crazy how the years fly by, man. Crazy stuff. Okay, I'm gonna actually put a break right here, just so that when I draw his kind of chest coming down, that we got a leak in there so we can fill it easily. So my other sister commented that one of my trees was very Susical. So that might be in season right now. Absolutely. Runs a horse farm in Long Island. No kidding. For abused horses and other animals. Huh. Well, that's a noble pursuit, no doubt about it. So I'm not going to belabor the delineation of his head and all this through here too much. I think that as long as we get the big picture on this. Um, you know, and I may come back to that and add some detail, but I think for now I'm going to let that kind of smack down the way it is. And I'm actually staying out wide here to just keep the vantage point clear. If I hit the end key, this is the exact actual level of detail that I'm going to have in the art. So this seems to be, is this a copy of the prior? No, it isn't. So just need to kind of get that in there. Boom. All right, and I'm just kind of seeing, I'm going to turn the smoothing off actually for the moment, so I can have a little more control and maybe just hit the M key and flip the canvas so I can see better what I'm doing. Now up here, we said his hand's going to kind of just fall under the fabric. So, so he whips that open and tromps out. So yeah, it's pretty weird to think that I know somebody who knows somebody who is very close to Donald Trump. It's really weird. But it's one of the, you know, it's what they say, 6 degrees of separation or whatever it is. It's actually a thing. But I guess if you're progressively minded, you say, hey, that just underscores the fact that, you know, we're all connected. We're all part of the same human family, and maybe we should think about each other a bit. Right? Am I right, people? I'm going to go ahead and kind of put some wrinkles there and let him stomp through. Stomp through. So I still have the smoothing off just so I can get a real sketchy kind of feeling there on this. And then I said the curtain's going to fall here a little bit. So, whoa. We'll just kind of do it like that. which kind of equates to my normal tweening method, which is, you know, little change, big change. Tends to work well for an 8 frames per second cartoon. So, ba-da-da-da-da-da. All right, let's rewind and see what we have. Not too shabby. What time is it? We're at 2 hours. Okay. Let's just think about how we're doing here. I think what I'll do is hit Control-Shift-F so that I can just toggle through and see if I've got any errors in regard to fills. And it looks like everything's looking good on that level. This level is kind of irrelevant because most of it isn't closed shapes to begin with. And I'm pretty much going to hand paint them. So we're going to need to get the background in there. We're going to have to get the background in there, which is going to be pretty straightforward. And then we've got the silhouette of Tianara. So I would say we can just dive into ink and paint. And the way to do that would be to put the eyes on top so that we can come back here, turn off our fill check again. And now let's get this guy colored. Okay, how are we going to do that? Well, File, Save All. I kind of mentioned this the other day. If we go to our browser and we put the browser in icon mode, we should be able to go to the drawings folder and find an earlier picture of Vespar that will show us his costume. So it is a bit of a clunker to have to search through, but that looks like that's probably pretty much it. So let's load it. Alright, so now if we go back here to the 2D view, as you can see, we're in good shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these colors, hit Control C, and then I'm going to go to this level and hit Control V. With the caveat that this color can be deleted because we're just going to modify this color in order to, as you can see in the background there, in order to modify the outlines. So therefore, this whole sequence, which is a TLV file, which by the way, I could have reused in this shot, actually. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. But in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this sequence and just turn it off, but keep it handy in case I decide later that right around here, like here, that I want to cut to a close-up. I don't think I'm going to, but why not have the option, right? Okay, so therefore, now what we're going to do is we're going to test out, I think, the range, frame range coloring that we tested earlier today. So let's grab the leather and hit the fill tool, and we've got frame range already turned on. So now what I should be able to do is click here, and now I'm just going to go forward. And here, let me just keep going forward. Okay, so I'm going to want to go to here. Click, and look at what it did. It filled everything in for me. Isn't that cool? That's great. Click. Click. Oh, it glitched. Oh dear. Can't have that. So probably what we should do is focus on what's safe, which is going to be this. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, it falls within all of them. So boop. That should. Look at that. Filled everything in, but it made one mistake. But that's my fault because I've got a leak there. So let me take the B key, fill that in. And now I should be able to fix that in a quick hurry. By fill tool, I'm going to, let's see, I have to gamble. I think what I'll do is leave my mouse up on the screen to see how I'm going to be able to follow this. I mean, generally, you're using it for fairly small changes. So we'll say click, click. Okay, not too bad. It's not perfect, but here we'll go click, click. Yep, not bad. And we'll just keep going here. Click. That's still in. Still in. And we got a hiccup. So, well, that's the danger of leaks. So it can happen. Where the heck is the leak? What are you? Could be up here. Tell you what, let's turn up the gap distance. Let's go ahead and try using the gap closer and see if we have better luck. I guess we'll take smaller steps here. And that one will just fill. Okay, so the gap closer is introducing a lot of artifacts, as you can see. And those artifacts, basically there's no way to get rid of them, as far as I can tell. So for my purposes, I think any gap closing more than, I would guess, 5 to 10 pixels is probably asking for trouble. So here we're going to go ahead and fill in his face. I'm actually going to get back out of frame range mode. I suspect this is all going to go quicker if I just do it manually. Okay, let's back up here. Okay, so we're going to get his hand. Here, you got a hand and a hand. Boom. Hand there. So this is pretty much tedium. If you're as impatient as I am, this is not your favorite part of the animation process, but it's definitely a very necessary part. Ah, that worked. Let's try that. Not bad. Not bad. Boom. 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 And boom. Not bad at all. Okay, so let's fill in these guys. Well, I might as well catch that purple here while I'm here. Gold, 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 gold. So is anybody bored yet? If you were, I wouldn't blame you. This is tedium. Purple, purple. We got a fair amount of leakage, definitely. Click. Click. All right. So now what we're going to have to do is go in and start cleaning some things up. We're not concerned about the whites of his eyes at this moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the fill tool mode to freehand so that I can go in and start drawing a lasso around things and cleaning up little hiccups that are here and there, like right there. So I'm pretty much doing this on a color by color basis just because it's more efficient to do so. Okay, so let's zoom out here and say, do we have any leaks in the hands? Actually, we do. Look at that. So it's good that we can use lasso mode to, or well, it's called freehand mode actually, not lasso mode, but you guys knew what I meant. All right, so I'm going to take this, start lassoing all these hiccups. Probably could zoom out a skosh so I can see what I'm doing better. And as you can see, we can just fix the problems. We'll deal with shadows in due course. Same situation here, here. Pretty stoked about the new CDC guidelines, by the way. If you're fully vaccinated, what all the conspiracy theorists didn't believe could possibly happen has happened, which is that the CDC turned around and said, you know what? Now that we've reached certain metrics, you don't have to wear a mask indoors anymore. You're good. So it's really awesome that we're getting there. It's been a long year for a lot of people. For me, less than most, because I work at home, so it hasn't been a big change for me. But for a lot of people, it's been difficult. And by the way, 2 very close people to me died this last year of COVID. 2 people that have been very precious people in my life. So both of them were in their advanced. They were close to 90 years old actually, so they're pretty old. Not that that's much consolation, you know. Not much consolation in that. Okay, so purple. That I'm gonna have to just put some kind of shadow area, methinks. I don't mind letting a Scotia purple sneak through right there. So what's missing? Let's go deep dive here. Deep dive. Deep dive. So how are we doing out there? Everybody's gone silent. Did everybody leave? Okay, yeah, so we got some fixes. In the gray, clearly. Right there. We might as well just put that in shadow, baby. Okay, and then the gray, as I said, hiccup there, hiccup there. Let's go back, start finding little issues. Oh, there's a comment. Got your second shot soon. Good, good. Yep, exactly. Yeah, I got mine. Well, let's just say I've been fully vaccinated for pushing 2 weeks now. So as I think I mentioned in a previous live stream, I went and saw Natalie and the grandkids. We've exercised an abundance of caution, and so as a result, I actually haven't seen them in quite a long time, even though they're just across town. And man, my little girl, boy, she grabbed a hold of Dad like she was not gonna let go. Yeah, we've always been pretty tight. I mean, when I was making films, you know, she was right there beside me as kind of my right-hand person. You know, and obviously she played the lead in Healed by Grace. So she, and by the way, sang all the songs too. I mean, she and I wrote the songs, and I produced all the songs, and she sang them and did a great job. So that was one of the reasons I got into filmmaking, was that my daughter wanted to get into performance. That's actually a whole story too, because what happened was there's these organizations that travel around the country, and what they do is they hold this I think they call it like a showcase or something like that, but they basically hold this event where the idea is that you're giving kids the chance to walk the aisle and be a model. That's pretty much it. Now, there is singing and dancing involved and things like that, because the particular organization that I'm thinking of, which I will not name, not for any particular reason, but it's just I actually don't remember their name offhand, but because this would have been around 2009. But this particular organization, what their shtick is they go around the country and hold these events in major cities, and they cite the very few notable successes they have had. Like, for example, they might have one kid in 10 years who gets some role on a show on Nickelodeon or on the Disney Channel, something like that. They get some little measure of success, and then they're always going to tout that success, because they want kids to enter these contests, because if the kids, you know, sort of pass the first round, then they're invited to the next level round. But kind of the prerequisite to getting involved with the whole next level round, where it starts to become real and maybe you could actually get a role on a Disney show or something like that, is that you essentially take a course. And then what they do is they administer the course through some local modeling agency in the town that they're in. So it's kind of a good scam. I mean, because for one kid in a zillion, it actually kind of sort of could wind up being a small stepping stone to some kind of interesting opportunity if you're into like acting and that sort of thing. 99.9999999% of their kids don't ever do anything. And how do I know that? Because in the real world of modeling, that's not how it works. The whole idea that the modeling agency would charge you to, be trained as a model or get pictures or whatever that's not how it really works in New York City. Or I mean, there probably are scammers who do that in New York City, but the real credible modeling agencies that are placing people for ads in, to model in a J.C. Penney's catalog or whatever, Macy's or whatever it would be nowadays, right? They don't charge you for that. The credible modeling agencies, they make their money from Macy's. Macy's pays their bills, right? They get a commission off the gig, so they actually have to get you work, right? So this whole thing of paying to be part of that wonderful, glamorous world is just a bunch of BS. It's a scam. But that's okay. I mean, the company that did it, I actually almost turned them into a client of mine in the commercial media space, which is a whole nother story. But so it's not like they're a bad company, but it's a scam. I mean, because most kids in a smaller town are not going to get any real opportunities for the simple reason that there are no advertisers shooting pictures for catalogs, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, or Kokomo, or name your town. There's no modeling business there in the that's part of the real world, right? So this is how that worked. So we went through this whole thing, and I basically looked at Natalie and I said, "Look, they want us to pay a couple $1,000 or whatever it is to like take this class. Like somehow that's going to give you more opportunities." And I'm like, probably if we were to write our own movie, record our own song. I mean, I've been recording radio jingles and all the rest for years. I mean, I've written 10,000 scripts of all different kinds. Why don't we just do our own, create our own show? If you want to be a star, let's try to make you a star and just go straight to the audience, right? Not go through this convoluted business structure that's really all about extracting money from the kids, not extracting money from the advertisers who pay the kids in the real world. So that's what we did. That's what we did. I wrote a movie and we just started, it's like, let's just make a movie. What's the big deal? How hard can it be? And the reality is it's actually not that hard. It's pretty easy to suck at. It's not easy to do well. And it's not easy to do well enough that you're going to be able to gain and hold an audience and actually get any traction on your show or your movie. That's a little harder. But it can be done if you are careful to look at the marketplace and make some wise decisions about how you might be able to find a place in that market, All right, so here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to go ahead and create a vector level. And the reason we're doing that is so we can do some shadows. All right, so I'm hitting the B key. We've got auto close, auto group, auto fill turned on. And that means that Tahoma is going to quite literally create closed shapes for us. And what we're going to do is we're just going to smack in some shadow areas. Now, I don't need to worry about the relative contrast between like a rim light around the back of him and his overall local color, for the simple reason that the body highlight effect will do that for us. So all I need to do is concern myself with the more localized shadows that just gives some dimensionality and quality to the imagery, right? So there's that. So we'll keep it simple, Sherlock. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our scene settings, and we're going to click this that says enable column color filter and transparency for rendering, which means that when we render, any transparency that we put in this level is going to propagate through to the shadows that we just drew. So I'm going to set this at 12, That's my normal number for shadows, and there they are. Wango Bango worked perfectly. Okay, so now we'll go here, and we'll say nothing changed. Nothing changed. Did anything change here? Actually, here. We had something change here. So here we've got to go D to duplicate this drawing. And then we're going to hit the eraser and just erase all these shadows and redraw them. Okie dokie. Oops, I blew it. I blew that. So I thought it was interesting. You know, it wasn't too hard to unpack that the whole modeling thing was a scam, more or less. Not really a bad scam, because again, for a lot of kids in a small town, if they were to go through those classes and learn about poise and presentation or how to speak, there's some value to that. I mean any young lady might benefit from that or enjoy it, just like they enjoy, you know, dance classes or whatever. I say young lady loosely because most of the participants are girls. Not all, though. There's a lot of boys too. So, but once I kind of unpacked their business model and said, okay, I get where they're making their money from, I was like, you know, let's not go down this convoluted path where we're like depending on them to like make you a star kind of thing. That seems kind of stupid to me. Let's just kind of decide what we want our path to be, and then let's go pursue that path directly instead of being dependent on some third party to, you know, the mercies of some third party to make you a star, which is pretty stupid, really. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's pretty stupid. Okay, did I get this? I did. Okay, so we're good. All right. So now what? Well, how about this? We got to get some shadows here, baby. Do 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 do. Isn't this fun? This is so fun. All right, what's going on? So sorry, Dave. Been walking the park near our house. Oh, so you skipped out on me, huh? Yeah, I see. I see how that goes. I see how that is. No, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you know, it's funny. Actually, you know what? You know what the application, everything that I'm talking about right now with this whole modeling thing, there's an application that applies to this very directly. Because I think a lot of the people, typically young people, that are on YouTube and or exploring animation, and I know I've said this before, so if I bore somebody, I apologize, is that, you know, you're not really looking for technical skills. You're really not actually learning how to do it. What you're really looking for is encouragement that whatever it is you think you'd like to do, that you would in fact be able to do it. And that always bothers me, and it's why I've taught my children not to think that way, because yes, there are circumstances where you are manifestly dependent on someone else to give you an opportunity. Okay, that is a thing. But for the most part, you don't really, you know, the encouragement I give is, look, if you want to do it, just do it. Because if your show or whatever you create turns out good, it's going to open up, it's either going to, you know, find its audience, or it's going to open up other opportunities that you don't even know at this point what they are. But it's all good, because anytime you develop a new skill, you know, 3 years ago, while I've always had some talent as a cartoonist, 3 years ago I wasn't an animator. I hadn't done it. You know, all I had was just a gut instinct that, you know, I probably could do this. I think I could. So I did the same thing. I'm doing the same thing I did when I started making films, which is I'm like, I'm just going to try. I'm just going to go. Learn how to do it. Make some mistakes along the way, which I've made some biggies. And, well, I mean, what's stopping me? Well, for a lot of people, they would say, well, maybe a lot of things. Maybe there's barriers in the industry that prevent you from actually, you know, finding an opportunity to do this or that. Okay. And yeah, go ahead and sign off, Maria. It's all good. And that's why I try to talk sometimes about the way the the industry really works, because I have had some success in the entertainment industry. I mean, I have um, not huge success, but if a film makes $1 million, that's kind of a thing, right? So I have some experience with that. And the key thing that you need to realize is that, especially today, these platforms, YouTube included, Tubi, you name it. Some of them are tough nuts to crack, like Netflix, that's true. But they all need content. And they're all hungry, and they always have been for all the decades that we've had in entertainment industry in the sense that we know it today. The the distribution sector desperately wants good content. Now, good is an important word in that sentence. You know, just because you can find a camera doesn't mean that you're going to make something that someone's going to look at and say, wow, this is, I'd sure like to exploit this property. It does have to be good. Um, but I say that as a guy who made a number of movies that were not good. They all had various problems for different reasons that I had to learn to a degree by trial and error. What are you going to do? You want to do the movie thing or not? Well, if you do, then you're going to have to make the mistakes, or seek out those who know more than you and rectify those mistakes before they happen. That's probably smarter. But my point is that absolutely whatever you can conceive that you think you'd want to do, maybe it's create a new YouTube channel. Like if I wanted to create a YouTube channel that drew a really high audience with 500,000 subscribers or whatever, I actually am very, very confident that I could do it. Believe me, I am not grousing when I say that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to, if I can help a few people along the way, like we did with who did we help today? I think it was Razlad. Was it Razlad? No, it was Dark Snakes. It was Dark Snakes. To be able to help someone and then have the fun also of just being able to talk to you guys while I work. That's cool. I mean, that's a benefit. Um, and then hopefully, if you guys are on board with what I'm doing, you'll tell your friends about it, right? And so, but there's two paths you can go on YouTube. One is that your audience is the actual audience of your property, which is pretty much the case for me, or your audience is the people who watch your YouTube content regardless of what happens with your so-called property. My property being the show that I'm producing, right? And it's all just a decision. It's just, what do you want to do? Anything you do in the realm of business, career, craft, skills, I always look at it as there's no way around. There's no way around you're going to have a well, I always think 222, That's I don't want to get off onto sales and various nuances of business development. Anything you want to try, you better give it 2 years. Okay? Within 2 years, I could go out and do gigs and make money. And I might happen to be a little more talented than the next guy, or maybe less than the other guy. But basically, I could do okay with 2 years to to tool up and learn how to do it. Now, if I want to compete with Charlie Parker, or pick your favorite musician, it's going to probably take more than 2 years. It's going to take closer to 8 years. So that's just kind of the way it goes. So I do think it's fair to say that in the real world, for most of the things that we pursue, in other words, okay, like when we think about this stylus that I'm using, okay, the question you would ask yourself is this a creme de la creme high-end stylus? And I would argue that probably it's not. It's probably actually a pretty cheap piece of thing. And what makes it cool isn't the fact that it's incredibly well made, as much as the fact that the underlying technology just does what it does. And the packaging itself is actually fairly pedestrian, right? So you don't have to get into the high-end creme de la creme level in order to be able to do something cool or make a living or whatever you want to say, whatever your goal is, right? You just don't. Because most of the stuff we interact with every day and the stuff we buy when we go to the store is not creme de la creme. Now, you might be somebody who only buys creme de la creme stuff. Okay, fine. Then you're the exception to the rule. But for most of us, most of the stuff that we interact with is actually mediocre. Whoops, I just made a mistake. I would argue that that's actually true with people in general in terms of their performance at whatever it is they do. And that might be a controversial statement, okay? So I accept that that might be the case. I think that most people in most realms are actually pretty mediocre. I think exceptionalism is actually pretty rare, which I find, sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. In some arenas, being exceptional doesn't matter at all. In some arenas, it matters a lot, but probably in most it doesn't. Our world is run by mediocrity for the most part, and that's okay. That's not even a criticism. It's just a clinical observation. Certainly, in our modern marketplace, we embrace that, and with a little bit of technology and other factors that enter in, we're making amazing things really, really cheaply today. There's a lot of things you can complain about. Quality and grade. Okay, so what would the word grade mean by high quality, low grade, as long as it works, is better than high grade, low quality? Not sure I'm getting the difference between quality and grade. So this is a piece of plastic, but it's actually a relatively well probably engineered and certainly manufactured piece of plastic, but at the end of the day, it's mostly plastic with a little chip inside. So you would call this pretty high quality, low grade. It's a cheap thing, but it's pretty well done. Versus, what would the opposite of that be? It would be polishing a turd. It would be what I've described in animation as, it doesn't do me any good to render this gorgeous, perfect picture of my character, but he's actually off character and doesn't actually look like the character who's in the rest of the show. That would be really high quality, but low grade, because you missed the most important thing. And so, to my point, in our culture, for the most part, the functionality probably carries more weight than the execution of how you create that functionality. Most people just don't care, right? They just want a stylus that works. And that's fine. Again, that's not a criticism. It's just an observation of how our world works nowadays. I'm not pining for the old days, because everything that's good about the old days came at a cost that we don't incur today. So we've lost some things and we've gained other things. It's the way it always is, you know. Okay, I actually think I'm pretty much done here. I've gone 2.5 hours for watching, and today. Tom, thank you so much for your help. Darren, I don't think you're around anymore. It's probably pretty late there in England, but thanks for your help. I'm looking forward to using that expression. So again, Tom, thank you for that, so that I can put the camera shake in there the smart way, I guess. And with that, I will say that, as you guys know, there absolutely will